Solve the quadratic equation by factoring. This one says 2x squared minus 9x plus 4 equals 0. Thankfully, this equation already says equals 0. That means we can go ahead and start factoring. This one's a little bit trickier, though, because I have a 2x squared in the front. So I can't just use a lot of shortcuts to get this one done. I have to go through the full factoring process. Normally, we would try to say, what are factors of 4 that can make 9? Well, factors of 4 are 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Neither one of those are going to make 9, and that's because we have this a number in the front. We have a 2 in the front. This times 2 needs to be applied to the 4. We're going to look at factors of 8. So let's think of factors of 8. We got 1 and 8, and we got 2 and 4. We need to subtract, because we do have a minus in here. We need to subtract to make 9, and I think it has to be 1 and 8. And if I'm trying to make negative 9, I think I'm going to go negative 1 and minus 8 in order to make negative 9. Okay, I've got my numbers. However, we still need to actually factor all of this stuff. This is where using the box method comes in handy. When we set up our box, we always put the original first term in the first box, 2x squared. The last term in the last box, positive 4. And then we determined that we had negative 1 and negative 8, and these are technically with x's on them, as our factored version of factors of 8 that add to negative 9. That's all kind of confusing. Anyways, let's factor out to the left right here. If I look at what's in common between negative 8 and positive 4, I could divide both of those by 4. So I could factor out a positive 4 going this direction. If I look going up between 1 and 4, well, 1 only has one factor. It has to be 1. So I'm for sure going to factor out a 1. Now, we kind of have an issue because we haven't messed with any negatives right now. I have a positive 4 in this corner, but I have double negatives going on in these corners, which means our factors are actually going to be double negative. So I'm going to have minus 4 and minus 1. Between this corner and this corner, both of those corners have x's everywhere, so for sure we're going to have an x in common, but let's look at just this one for a minute. 2x squared and 1x. Well, they for sure have an x in common. 2 and 1 only have a 1 in common, so I don't need to write a number right there. Oops. Let me get rid of the highlight. Factor this way. What is in common between 2x squared and minus 8x? We already took care of the negative, so 2 and 8. What's in common between those? Well, they both could factor a 2, and they both have an x. So here's our factored version right there. Holy cow, that was a lot of work. 2x minus 1 is one factor. X minus 4 is another factor. If I'm solving these properly, I need to set each of these factored expressions equal to 0 independently. 2x minus 1 equals 0, or our answer could be x minus 4 equals 0. And solving these, x minus 4 equals 0, that's an easy one. We just got to add the 4. X will equal positive 4. That is one of our possible answers. Now, this other one's on the left. If I solve this little miniature equation, 2x minus 1 equals 0, I can add the 1 to the other side. Got 2x equals 0. And then I could divide the 2 away. Oops, not 0. Oops, sorry. 2x equals, that would be 1. Then divide the 2 away. I'm going to end up with x equals 1/2. So we could possibly get some fractions as answers. And that usually depends on if you have an a number in the front. This one had a 2 in the front. So we ended up with a 1/2 or something divided by 2 at the end for an answer. So if you have an a value that's greater than 1, you need to be using the old school box method.